Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Let's have some fighting words. In this video, I want to do a fight breakdown for Dmitry Bivol as he is going up against the one and only Saul Canelo Alvarez. So let's just jump right into it and let's start it off. So after doing my research on Bivol, because I wasn't the most familiar with him, but the dude is actually like really amazing. Let's see. Let's just start off like this. He's a very, very skilled offensive fighter. Extremely skilled. Like, now, when I say skilled, okay, what do you mean by skilled? Let's see. The dude's had like over 300 fights. Okay? Like, he's on like Lomachenko level, like, of fights. All right? So, like, he's experienced, he's skilled, like, and he's relatively breezed through the competition over the years. Like, you're talking about a dude who hardly ever really gets scarred up or anything like that. He doesn't have a whole lot of wars to his credit because he's just a much smarter boxer than the competition that he's been fighting against. I mean, with the one thing that I notice and that I think about when I look at Dmitry Bivol going up against Canelo Alvarez, I'm like, dude, just use your natural abilities. If you just use your natural abilities, you got a real good chance, and I mean a real good chance. Now, I don't know about that weight cut. I don't know how it's going to affect him, but if he can effectively do that where he still has his power and he can still, fully function, I don't see any reason why he doesn't give Canelo a very, very, very long night. And it is very possible that he could give Canelo his second loss, actually, or his second official loss, actually. So Bivol he's not a wild man. He's a very sharp, crisp fighter. He's not a wild man at all. He doesn't get wild. He doesn't waste shots. When I say crisp, he'll snipe you. Like, if he's trying to hit this, he will target that. He will hit it precisely. Okay, he's not some wild type of guy. Even when he has an opponent hurt, he's not a wild type of guy. He's a very thoughtful fighter. That in itself makes him dangerous. When you're as big and as strong as Dmitry Bivol and you're a thoughtful, thinking fighter, that's a problem. That's a problem. And that's what he is. He doesn't waste punches. And I love that. I like when guys, they think about what they want to do. They don't just... It's one thing if you just have a natural instinct, and I think some people just have, like if you look at James Toney or Roy Jones, I think they just had natural fighting instinct. I think they could fight literally with their eyes closed because their instincts are so keen in that particular moment that they don't necessarily need all their other instincts. They don't need their hearing or something else because they just understand fighting. They know where they need to be. But Dmitry Bivol, like, he's a very sharp puncher. Like, he hits the target. And that's another problem for Canelo. I've already mentioned he's had like 300 fights. So when you talk about experience, I know a lot of times when Canelo's fighting guys, they're like, well, Canelo's got like 50-something fights, 60 fights. Yeah, that's nowhere near what Dmitry Bivol has. Now, sure, the argument's going to be, yeah, but, the bulk of that, they're not professionals. Or the bulk of that was just all in his country and he was seeing a particular style over and over and over again. Now, that is true. I will give you that to your credit. So say, for example, I train in my gym. Okay. And I only spar to people in my gym. So over time, I'll get used to the people in my gym because I'm always sparring the people in my gym. Then I go to another gym in another state and they fight totally differently. So I understand that argument. However, when there's like 300 of them, I'm sorry. Like, I don't care what you say. When there's like 300 of them, experience is experience. Now, sure, are those guys ex-champions? Are those guys champions? Have those guys lost before? Yeah, a lot of them have, and no, a lot of them are not champions, or probably none of them were champions. But when you have 300 fights, and we're talking about like Russia, like let's just call a spade a spade. They don't produce weak boxers. They don't produce the type of fighters where they don't have fundamentals. So if you go through 300 of those guys, you're skilled, because they go through everything in the book. Okay, to the point where it's like they leave out creativity. We're just gonna do what works. We're gonna do what's been proven. That's what they do. Okay, so you can say whatever you want. Well, this guy, he's only had this many fights, or nobody knows who that guy is. That's true. Nobody knows who that guy is, but he still had 300 of them, and you have to take that into consideration. Just honestly speaking, you got to take that into consideration. It's one thing if we're talking about, some backwoods place where it's just like those guys aren't really fighters or something like that. We're talking about a part of the world where you kind of choose what you're going to do in your life. And they'll be like, no, you're going to box. So those dudes can fight. Those dudes can fight. They produce Triple G. They produce Kovalev. Say what you want. They produce the Klitschko brothers in that part of the world. Obviously, they're not the same, area, but still, they can fight. So, yeah, it's 300 of those dudes. That's a problem for Canelo. That means I'm on the same wavelength you are when it comes to experience. That means when the going gets tough, I also got something to draw back on, while you do as well. But so do I. And I might even have a little bit more. So there you go. Dmitry Bivol has a really great jab. And I think I talk about jabs enough on this channel to where you all know. Do I live and die by jabs? No, but I think they're a great tool to get you out of trouble. And I also think they're a great tool to keep your opponent in trouble. I just think they're a great tool in general, if you have a solid jab. Now, if you have a jab that has pop and power on it, we're talking icing on the cake. Icing on the cake, okay? But just a jab alone is going to keep... Look at a guy like Paulie Malignaggi. He doesn't have power. He didn't have power when he was competing. But he didn't need power because he had such a great jab and it was constantly in your face. So it's just like he had speed and he had that jab. Now, you look at Dmitry Bivol, he's got a great jab. He's consistent with his jab, which is one of my critiques on this channel all the time. Guys who have great jabs, or just jabs in general, and they're not consistent. He has a great jab, but on top of that, he's consistent with the jab. Then on top of that, he's got power on that jab. That's a problem. That's a big problem. And speaking of jabs, it was the jab that really gave Canelo problems in the first Triple G fight. It was that jab. The jab pushed him back. The jab kept him at a certain distance. The jab made him shell up. The jab made him take back steps. All the things that Canelo didn't want to do. It's one thing if Canelo wants to shell up so he can get close to you, and then he can unload some shots. But it's something else if you make him do it. And whatever Triple G did, I think Dmitry Bivol is a much better, bigger, stronger version of Triple G, because he has something that Triple G doesn't have and didn't have in those two Canelo fights. He has great legs. And I've been saying it for a long time, Canelo doesn't have the best legs in the world. He's always wearing like a little knee brace type of thing. He doesn't have the best legs in the world. He's not the most mobile fighter in the world. He's not the guy who's going to skate away or anything like that. He's not that. And Dmitry Bivol, I'm not saying he has great legs, but I am saying he has good legs. And his legs and his movement in the fight could very well play a very, very strong factor in this fight. His ability to pull out, back up. But what he likes to do is jab and go around. And that, again, is going to be a problem for Canelo. And if you look at my breakdowns for Caleb Plant and also, what is his name? Billy Joe Saunders. Those were the two things that I thought if they were to use them, they would have given Canelo a much more difficult time than they did. But they didn't use their legs at all. Dmitry Bivol, because he's had so many fights, because he doesn't strike me as the type of guy who's starstruck, I think he's gonna just be comfortable. Okay, that's Canelo, and I think a lot of guys do get starstruck. You watch certain guys, and I remember it was Floyd Mayweather when he was fighting Ortiz. And like, he was like laughing and giggling, like, and it was almost like, I can't believe I'm getting ready to fight Floyd Mayweather. And he was like so happy. And I'm like, dude, get over it. Matter of fact, I understand how you feel, but wait until after the fight. Don't do it now. And most certainly don't let him see you do it like he was doing like the whole entire promotion. So Dmitry Bivol, he doesn't strike me as that. There's not a whole lot of emotion on his face. There's not a whole lot of he's just stone cold, you know. And I think you're gonna need that. You're gonna need that coldness going up against Canelo, especially when the going gets thick, like those middle rounds and those latter rounds, you know, where you're gonna have to establish yourself even more, because that's actually when Canelo, he comes on. Canelo's a elite starter in fights. A lot of times he just likes to compute what's going on and who's in front of him. Like, yeah, he's been training and he's been focused on you, but at the same time, it's much different when you have somebody actually in front of you. And now he's computing, all right, this is how he moves in real life. Okay, in real time, okay, this is what he does. Oh, he likes to do that little thing before he throws the right hand. Okay. About round 4, you're going to see Canelo come on. And I think Dmitry Bivol has a great window. That first round to, I'll say like the 3rd, 4th round, he can really stack up some rounds. But on top of that, he can show Canelo, I'm not afraid of you. He can show Canelo, I can keep you at a distance, which is another thing that he does. He measures and controls distance really, really well. And he's going to have to, because if Dmitry Bivol takes advantage of his natural physical attributes, his natural physical size, it's really going to give you... Now, I know people are going to... Well, Canelo's been fighting taller people lately. He's been fighting taller people lately who have not been fighting like tall people. So, yes, you are absolutely, right in saying that. However, they don't fight like tall people. Caleb Plant didn't fight like somebody tall. He was doing this the whole night. Like, if he would have stood up and fought like a tall guy, used his jab, that would have been much more conducive to him possibly, at least not getting knocked down. I'll say it like that. I felt like he kind of lost his win, but that's neither here nor there. That's in the past. Listen, what does he have to do? He has to push Canelo back. What does he have to do? He has to use his jab. What does he have to do? He has to believe in that jab. That first Triple G fight is a beautiful blueprint of what to do with Canelo. Okay? Now, when you match that with the size of Bivol and the power of Bivol, because I do believe that he hits harder than Triple G, there's a real possibility he could take Canelo out. The danger is there, everybody. Like, let's not fool ourselves. I get it, he's Canelo, but let's not fool ourselves. He's also a man. The danger is there. The thought of him getting knocked out is real. Bivol is no joke. Okay, he's not some one-hit wonder. He's not somebody who just popped on the scene. When I said he had 300 fights, that means he's committed. He's been doing this for a long time. 6 years old to be exact, everybody. So he's not new to this. All right, so that's that. When I say keep with the jab and everything, those are the things that he needs to do. But also he needs to stay on the outside. If you do what everybody else does with Canelo, even the ones who know how to move and use a ring, no. Keep the distance. He's naturally shorter than you. Keep the distance. You have better legs than him. Keep the distance. You have a better jab than him. Keep the distance. You hit harder than him. You should. Keep the distance. Keep your distance. You throw more punches than him in a round. You do. So keep the distance. It's going to help you in the overall. And again, it's not a crazy thought that Bivol can get Canelo out of there. Not a crazy thought at all. So I'm just going to end this with a little story. Now, I know you all seen Aladdin, right? So, Aladdin, he likes this girl, but, he's a street rat and she's the princess. Okay. So the genie says, what do you want? Oh, I want to be a prince so I can get close to her. So after he becomes the prince and everything like that, it's just still not clicking with him and the princess. So the genie says, hey, be yourself. And that's what I would implore Dmitry Bivol to be, himself. If you are yourself and you've done what got you to the dance, I'm telling you, you could very well be successful in this fight. I know a lot of people are writing you off because he's the great Canelo, but you have more than what you need to be successful in this fight. If Triple G got this close, you're personally, in my personal opinion, he's a better version of Triple G. And he's younger than Triple G. And he has better legs than Triple G. He has longer reach than Triple G. He is harder than Triple G. He has a better jab than Triple G. I'm sorry. I think he can win this fight. I truly believe he can win this fight. If he just keeps with that jab, stays consistent with that jab, he circles, he uses his legs, he frustrates Canelo, he pushes Canelo back, he makes Canelo shell up, and then he unloads and then skips out. Because believe me, Canelo will return fire. But if you shell him up, hit him back out, now Canelo has to work all over again. Take full advantage of those early rounds while Canelo is computing and win those rounds. Win those rounds. Win those rounds. So those are my thoughts. This has been my fight breakdown for Dmitry Bivol. If you like what you're hearing, please like, please share, and also please subscribe to my channel. Drop your comments down below. I would love to hear what you have to say in regards to the fight breakdown and who you think is going to win the fight.